Am I the asshole? I told my parents they birthed a disabled child, so they just have to live with it. I, 22F, have been diagnosed with ADHD, autism, dyslexia, dyspraxia, low muscle issues, anxiety, and am slightly blind. I got diagnosed from the age of 2 to 7 with everything. Due to all of my diagnoses, I am unable to drive anywhere. I can still bus places and take Ubers, but being driven somewhere is sometimes the best option for me. Multiple doctors told my parents I would be unable to drive due to being slightly blind and having anxiety. As I'm unable to hold a full-time job, I don't have heaps of money coming in, so Ubers are usually a last resort. Yesterday, I had asked my dad if he could pick me up, as the bus I was supposed to take never came. When he went to pick me up, he made a few comments saying it would be a lot easier if I could drive, and how I should learn to drive anyways, despite that fact that doctors don't want me to, as he hates having to pick me up all the time. I replied that it's just what happens when you have a disabled child, and it's something you have to put up with. He took massive offense to that and told Mum, who thought I was being incredibly rude. He picks me up once or twice a week at most. So I'm not judging here because there isn't really anything to judge. But I will posit this question. Do you expect him to drive you everywhere for the rest of your life? Do you have a plan for how you will gain a measure of independence? Not really directing this at you, just at the world at large, since I've been dealing with this in a different area of my life. And I think it bears repeating. Sometimes people are disabled in such a way that what's traditionally considered independence, driving being the main example here, is probably not something they're ever going to achieve. And that's not a moral failing. Sometimes it's just the way it is. And if you're someone dealing with that, you shouldn't be made to feel shamed for it. Again, not saying that you were saying anything negative, it's just that hearing someone bring up independence in the context of this post made me want to add this. ETA, since I've gotten quite a lot of feedback about this comment, I'm not saying that OP shouldn't look at practical solutions. Quite a few people on this thread have given great advice, and I would encourage OP and anyone in a similar situation to look at the resources people have brought up. The point of my comment was that some people are talking about this like the act of not being able to drive is a moral failing on OP's part. And it's not. It's a problem. She needs to be willing to explore solutions to the problem. And from her comments, it sounds like she is. But the fact that the problem exists doesn't make her or anyone else who struggles with similar disabilities a bad person. No one is saying that OP should drive despite being blind. The suggestion, and as someone who is myself disabled, I think it's a good one, is that OP needs to start thinking now, while she's young and has parental support, about how to structure her life so that she doesn't end up left in the lurch if something happens to her parents. She needs to start exploring disability supports that are available to her in the community or through government programs, and what decisions she can make now that will make it possible for her to live the fullest life available to her as she and her parents get older. For example, I can't drive, so I've chosen to live in a place with excellent public transportation, good enough that a lot of people who can drive choose not to. I've picked a career that doesn't require driving, and that I'll likely still be able to do, even if my disabilities get worse. I've made sure I understand how my insurance works and what programs I might need to sign up for if my conditions worsen, and what options I have if I end up needing to retire early because I have to stop working. Those are things to start thinking about now, rather than focusing on picking a fight with Dad over him making a crappy comment. Not the asshole, but also don't take them for granted, because a lot of disabled people don't got parents. Not the asshole. I have a disabled child who's now 16, and his health issues started at 14. As it stands, he'll never be able to drive, etc. And I've cried for the dreams I had for him and lost, but I accept his new normal, and in that, I'm his personal taxi. Your parents have known what your future would be like for 20 years. Plus, if you drive against medical advice, it would probably make your insurance invalid, would in UK. That's if you're issued one to start with, and that is a whole legal mess I don't think you or your parents want to get into. Am I the asshole for spending my son's university fund on a trip to Europe to drink beer like I always threatened instead of giving it to his stepbrother after he passed away? My son was smart, smarter than me. I almost requested a paternity test because he was so damn intelligent. That is a joke. My ex and I divorced when he was about 12. She remarried when he was 14. I did when he was 16. I had an RSP set up for him. That's an education fund in Canada. As long as he went for post-secondary education, he could use the money for anything. I always told him that I was okay with him not going to university. That way, I could use the money I had saved up for him to go to Belgium and buy some beer from monks that only allow you to buy one case. He knew I was joking, and he always played along. He wouldn't let me get his goat. When he got accepted to McGill, it was the proudest moment of my life. I took him out for a beer to celebrate his achievement and mourn the loss of my trip to Europe. My son was struck and killed by a drunk driver in March. I'm dealing with it. My ex is dealing with it. My wife has been nothing but my rock in this. She is holding me up. I was dealing with the funeral arrangements and everything when my ex came to talk to me about his money. She knew he had a scholarship and was just going to use the money for living expenses and an emergency fund. She asked me what I was going to do with it. I said I was going to do what I always said I would. I was going to Europe to drink beer. She asked if she could have it for her stepson. I thought about it and said no. Her husband is a decent enough person, but he made it clear that he wasn't responsible for any expenses for my son. Beyond food and shelter and stuff, obviously. Like I said, he is decent. I said I was not going to do that. I was going to go drink beer in my son's honor. She says I'm wasting thousands of dollars. And I guess I am. I have to give back the government portion of the fund. But I don't care. My ex thinks I'm being stupid and irresponsible wasting my son's money like this. I don't care. My son would laugh his ass off if he knew I actually did it. Not the asshole. Sorry for your loss. I thought it was a clickbait title, but this is a sad f***ing post. I hope you enjoy your trip and pour out some for your homie. It sounds like you guys had a good relationship. From someone who lost her 15-year-old sister to a car accident, this really tore me up way more than I thought it would. She was killed a month after her 15th birthday and had just been accepted to a private high school with a full-ride scholarship she had been trying for. The acceptance letter sat on her vanity in her room for years after. You are not the asshole. If anything, far from it. The ex-wife even asking is a huge one. Please go to Europe and celebrate his life. It's the only thing that should be done with that money. If you have a Venmo, Cash App, etc., I would love to also buy you a beer. I'm truly sorry for your loss. Thanks for the offer. I'm going to update when I'm there. I would appreciate it if you had one with me instead. My condolences. Your ex can ask for the money, but she shouldn't expect you to say yes. Not the asshole. Westphalia and Gold Cap is particularly worth traveling for. Well, that's another episode of Am I the Asshole in the books. I really appreciate all of you who made it this far into the video. Of course, if you enjoyed this video, it would really help the channel out a lot if you gave the video a thumbs up, subscribe, or leave a comment down below. I hope that you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time.